Hi guys, it's Joe, Alex, and Frank with Power by the Hour. We're here for Tuning Tuesday, episode 20. Today's primary focus is going to be Coyote Swaps.
Yes.
Basically, what's taking over the world is Coyote Swaps. Frank's also known as Naga Fria. He's a real staple of the Power by the Hour shop, and he's pretty much kind of the guy that if you have any questions, concerns about fitment, application, anything relating to Coyote Swaps, he's kind of the guy to ask. Now, you have a Coyote Swap Fox body, correct?
Yes, I do. 91 Fox. It's set up for road racing.
Okay.
American Iron road racing, or in general road racing, or DEs. Coyote Swap, 14 motor in it. It's got a TKO 600. Full Maxim Motorsport suspension, all the aero, all the horsepowers, as they say. Even though we're only restricted to 9-to-1, I can only use about 330 horsepower out of a Coyote motor.
And how do they limit that? Throttle body size?
Well, you can limit it timing, tuning, but only so much, because if you pull too much out, it's inefficient. So you end up hurting things more than you're helping.
Right.
So what we end up having to do is get to that point where we're maxed out on detuning it and then put a restrictor on the throttle body.
So basically, what we wanted to have Frank is come up and actually talk to us about the products that Power by the Hour focuses on the Coyote Swap stuff. Basically, we have a little bit of everything here. We have a display we're going to talk about. But what I'd like to talk to Frank about is, what is your number one seller? Like, what's your number one seller people call about all the time at Power by the Hour?
Brackets, accessory drive brackets. That's what really kind of got our feet wet, got us known in the Coyote Swap stuff, and those brackets were a big hit. They've allowed a lot of guys to put power steering on their Coyote motors for swaps in various vehicles. The original intent of the bracket kit was essentially to take all the accessories from a 96 to 2010 Mustang GT 4.6 modular motor and put them on a Coyote, and for a long time that's what we based it on. We used the 2-valve, 3-valve, and 4-valve alternator, power steering pump, and AC compressor, and went on the Coyote. Eventually what we did is upgraded the bracket for the alternator, and now we can put the Coyote alternators on there, which is important because the Coyote alternators, as you know, it's about 15 volts, computer controlled. If we use the older style alternators, the max we were seeing was like 12.5.
Yeah, the Coyote alternators seem to charge a lot better than the 2-valve, 4-valve, and 3-valve alternators.
Right. Do we want to bring that display up real quick? I was just going to maybe...
I can probably get
just
it.
kind of plop it down there so we can show them exactly why the Coyote is mounted the way it is and how it all looks. You're going to get a sweet
Joe, you're going to have to bend at the knees, Joe.
Yeah, bend at the knees, grab it from the front, and thrust with your hips really hard.
Let's put it right at that tape there.
Look at that.
At the edge of that?
Right there.
Oh, it's butt.
That's nice.
There you go.
Perfect. So if you wanted to kind of illustrate what's what and, kind of go over the whole deal, explain, you can make your way out there. Yeah, make your way out there in front. Yeah,
Get up front here.
Sure.
I'll hide over here.
So, what you see here is a Coyote timing cover. We go on this side, I'll block you guys.
Yep.
Is that good?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I'll put my head right here.
Coyote timing cover. It's all of our brackets are designed to work on a 11 to 17 Mustang Coyote timing cover. The F150s are a little bit different, but it will allow you to put that 96 to 2010 power steering pump in the location where the stock alternator was, which is also the stock location for a modular 4.6. Keeps the AC compressor in the stock location. You put your alternator right up here in front of the passenger side cylinder head. Uses factory tensioners. We give you all the hardware, really precise instructions so you can really kind of figure out exactly where everything goes with belt drives and hardware. And it also is expandable to, more importantly, the VMP blowers, the Roush belt drives as well. If you look at the bracket, actually closely in this one here.
Oh, that's the supercharger. Is that bracket?
NA and supercharged are all the same bracket.
Got it.
But what we're not using in this NA installation here is this little hole here, which is this guy. And that allows us to add an idler pulley, and it'll work with the inner sheath belt. And basically you can just drop in a Roush supercharger, VMP supercharger, anything that mimics or similar to the Roush belt drive will work. So it opens the doors to a lot more Coyote swaps. You guys want to add some boost without having to reconfigure their accessory drive and still have it power steering, AC. We've even done it custom a few times for a couple guys in 8-rib as well.
I remember you did some Cobra Jet stuff you did with a guy. He had a different blower on the car. Did you utilize some of those brackets?
Not on that one in particular, but trucks that like we did for SEMA.
Okay.
With Casey's Paint Shop. The guys from Fat Fender, I believe, got one of them as well. It takes some custom machining,
Okay.
but it takes the abuse just like a regular 8-rib would on a TVS setup, belt drive, and have not had any issues with belts slinging or having any problems like that.
Cool.
So for Coyote Swap, we can kind of take it. We actually just did a crate motor for a guy, Spectra Racing, that's doing a SEMA build in I think it's a 69 Mustang.
Oh,
It's
man.
got a VMP Gen3 on it. We did a whole crate motor for us.
Very good.
For him. And the car's codenamed Cerberus.
Cerberus.
You might have seen it on our Instagram.
Was that the three-headed mythical beast?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
right, exactly. He's up on his Greek
He
mythology.
was going to go with Joe.
It probably would have been better.
Cerberus is better.
Was a little bit more
Explain why the alternator is flipped like that.
expensive. We had to flip the alternator just to make it fit. If we tried to do it any other way, the belt, we'd have to add like 3 other pulleys in front of it to make it fit. So
Right.
to utilize an inner sheath, just like a Coyote motor, they all have inner and outer sheath. We put it facing forward and spun it around. What's important about that, if you're looking at doing a belt drive, is you can't use a manual transmission alternator pulley. Those have a clutch built into them. And we do machine and make our own pulley that is clutchless so that you can change it over to basically run it in reverse.
Got it.
If you get a Ford Racing alternator, those are all from a Boss 302, and you can't use those the way they come. You got to change over to the pulley. If you get a Mustang automatic alternator, GT 11 to 17, they come ready to go. They don't have a clutch built into them. You can use them.
Perfect. Let me
Nice.
bring that display down. You can take a seat. Why don't you go take a seat there? And we'll actually take some questions from the people out there that are, have wanting Coyote Swap questions. Frank's pretty much the
big
go-to
boy.
expert guy on the whole 9 yards. Oh, baby, wait. Oh, come on. There we go.
Mira.
So yeah, if you guys have any questions for us, Coyote Swap specific, we want to keep it focused on that. That'd be awesome. Carrie, do you have anything coming through yet?
I do have some questions. I have some questions that are Coyote Swap specific and some that are not.
We can mix them in, sprinkle some in there.
So Adrian wants a hypothetical question. He wants to know what the average cost to do a Coyote Swap is. He says, if I dropped off a manual V8 car Fox body or an SN95 and then pick it up when it's done, what would be like the average cost?
It's a loaded question, Adrian, because there are a lot of options even within what you just outlined. Manual transmission typically is going to be the most affordable way to do it. If you have a 96 to 04 car and you have a good donor powertrain in there with all the accessories on it, for example, that's going to save you some dough. You can actually use the stock 4.6 K member in some cases. If you modify the stock 11 to 14 exhaust manifolds, that's going to save you a lot of money too. So there's a laundry list of questions that you have to answer to develop that number. Realistically, anyone doing a Coyote Swap, get ready to spend about 60 to 80 hours of your life doing a Coyote Swap if everything goes swimmingly. So if you go to a shop, expect that, whatever their labor rate is, multiply it by that 60 or 80, and that's pretty much where you're going to end up at, unless you're getting a buddy deal, which they're out there and that's no problem. We work with a lot of builders that kind of work out of their house. A guy named Jeremy Dover, for example, a good customer of ours. He does Coyote Swaps for guys all over the country. And it's a $5,000 to $10,000 proposition labor-wise plus parts.
Is he the guy on the Foxcast?
Yeah, on the Foxcast with Caleb Richards, I think it's, Caleb.
Right.
He's doing Caleb's car as well. And he's used our brackets with blowers on them, without blowers, our control packs as well.
Right.
And done a lot of cars. And there's a lot of guys are doing it DIY. There's no doubt about it. But if you're going to go to a shop, I would say you're going to spend probably $5,000 to $10,000 in labor, in that range to do a Coyote Swap plus parts. And
Have it done right. Like, you're gonna have it done right. You're gonna pay a little more. You get what you pay for.
Yeah.
In these instances. So don't get all crazy about the price, because when it's done right, it's turnkey. Drive it away and not worry about it.
Yeah, and simple things like, do you want to hide wiring? Do you want to paint an engine bay? Do you want power brakes? Do you want manual brakes?
Oh wow, yeah, you're right.
Are
All
you
those little
tubular
things.
K member, swap headers? They all need a custom mid pipe? So
AC,
exhaust.
all that stuff.
How much power are you planning on making? What fuel system are we doing? So you really have to, before you start venturing into buying an engine, really envision what you want to have at the end of your investment, and then kind of work your way backwards, because you know what's going to fit the bill, what's going to make the most sense. You got to have that goal in mind for when everything's done, so you can buy consciously what's right for the project.
Right.
And then call us. If you have any questions on it, give us a ring and call the guys up here as well. They can answer any questions you have and kind of get an idea if you're buying the right parts for your build.
Carrie?
Christian says, I am Coyote Swapping my 3-valve. How do I make it so...
Christian Papa?
Yeah.
He works at Power by the
He's
Hour.
a very nice girl.
Yeah.
He's a lady.
How do I make it so it gaps my friends with the long bicho taso? Thanks, please answer. Nice.
Well, Christian, you're on the right track. You're getting rid of the 3-valve.
Yes.
Which is a big step. I know everyone's attached to them.
No one is.
And
Get out of here. No one's attached to the 3
They're
valve.
not bad. They're not
garbage.
terrible.
They're
but
junk.
a Coyote's definitely better.
Yeah.
And it can do a lot more stock for stock than any the 3 valves really have to offer. So congratulations for coming to terms with that.
Have some zebra cakes. Because
Yeah.
we know his
Some
girlfriend
peanut
puts
butter
some
jelly
zebra
sandwiches
cakes.
and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Cut them up.
Keep
no
rattling.
crust.
Yeah, no crust.
No crust.
Anything else, Carrie?
This is not a Coyote Swap question,
Okay.
so it's for you guys. A quick question. Got the Gen 2R on my 12-foot 500 tuned blah blah. Is there a issue if I lose the rear muffs besides being god awfully loud?
No.
Wow, the rear muff?
Yeah,
Man.
You want to touch that
The
one?
front muff is a little you got to keep the front muff. The rear muff, get rid of it.
Other than being loud, there's no issue with taking mufflers off a car.
Right.
Oh boy.
But the back pressure,
Do you measure back pressure? Shut up.
I don't think we've ever seen performance gains ever from muffler changes.
Right.
on 05 up.
Since
Yeah.
05, since they moved them to the back all the way behind the differential.
Perry's chiming in and he says, "Hey Frank, Perry from Backdraft Racing in Boynton Beach. I need some of those pulleys. I'll give you a call in a little."
Very good.
Sounds good. We got them.
Billy wants to know, will a 1314 PCM control a Gen 2 Coyote?
It can. What's going to be really important to know there is if the car is automatic or manual, because that will have some influence on which PCM you're going to be using. But as long as the tuners, and you guys can probably speak to this a little bit more than I can, I know there's a difference in the tuning as far as the cams. So 15 to 17, mid-lock. 11 to 14, Gen 1 is not. So what are you going to lose performance-wise if you cannot move that cam to where
Negative
the Gen
enough.
1? Negative enough.
Some torque.
Some down, like bottom end torque where you could go like 44, almost 48.
Right.
And I want to say it would be intake advance down low. I can't remember whether negative or positive.
Negative. Intake negative.
So intake negative would be advance. And then when you go to the mid-lock phaser, you can't quite get as much advance on the lower end on the intake on that setup. But the other thing that I'm not sure if anyone's gotten around yet is the startup.
Startup is a pain in the ass.
Until VCT comes active, it's going to
It's-
sound like crap
Right.
on a mid-lock phaser engine with a 11 to 14 ECU.
Right, so far, I don't know anyone that's gotten around that.
And basically, to even get to the point where you're tuning, if you have a Gen 2 motor, you're going to want to treat it like a lawn block because the wiring is completely different between Gen 1 and Gen 2. The PCMs are different as well. You have 3 connectors on the Gen 1, 2 on the Gen 2. So when you're approaching it as using a Gen 1 computer on a Gen 2, you need to have a Gen 1 throttle body. You need to have a Gen 1 engine harness. Potentially you might need coils to plug into that engine harness because as of February of 16, they changed the coils, so they may not plug right in. You may have to change the connectors or change coils altogether. If it's supercharged, obviously if it's a VMP or a Roush supercharged, you already have a Gen 1 throttle body. It's from a GT500, so you're good there. But the engine harness does have to be from an 11 to 14 to match up to 11 to 14 computer. Same with coils or however you need to get them to communicate.
Very good.
So we have a bunch of questions coming in, but before I get to them, Brian Perez says, "Oh my effing G, power by the hour." My
Okay.
boy Frank.
Cool.
So people are,
Should have brought the bobblehead.
my boy.
Should have brought the bobblehead.
I thought about it.
It's all good. Yeah, it crosses streams. You can't cross
I can
streams.
just do it live.
Right.
nice. Paul says VMP Gen 3 on a 2010 GT500 on 91 pump fuel. How much boost in rear wheel horsepower and torque estimate? I'm saving for my TVS 3.
You're gonna need a 3.0 pulley and no timing. 13 or 14 degrees of timing, tops. And it'll still make like 670, 680 or something dumb. But
Yeah.
that octane though, I mean,
Yeah, and I don't think we've tried I don't think we have tried Gen 3 on 91 timing.
I don't think I want to.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's one of those things where if you're stuck on 91, the 2.3 is fine. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, it is fine. I understand you want the latest iPhone. I get it. You want the newest stuff. But honestly, the 2.6 with a 3.0 pulley makes what kind of boost? What kind of boost did we see on the black?
I want to say it was
GT500?
16 pounds of boost.
And that's on
3.0
the
pulley.
biggest pulley we
Yeah.
carry on the 2.6, and you're going to be octane limited, I guarantee it. Some places have sweeter 91 than others, but man, if you're in that Arizona area where it's junk chocolate milk you're pumping into your car, it's going to be a bad time.
At
You
least
okay, bro?
Yeah,
At least being a 10, it has knock sensors.
True.
But still not ideal. The argument there is going to be, well, other manufacturers have put huge blowers on
Yeah,
on
cool.
91.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't mean it's still a good idea on 91 octane. I mean, you can get a lot out of the car on the stock blower or on the 2300 or on a Trinity and all those small blowers on 91 octane. And you're still going to hit that same octane limitation with a larger blower. You'll just hit it at a boost level that the blower is operating more efficiently than the small blower is.
Right.
Same person basically was saying, Alex, he loves your YouTube videos. Smart dude, keep it up, bud.
I'm not that smart. I'm actually really stupid.
Give yourself more credit.
Andrew wants to know what's... This is every week, Frank. Every week.
Oh no!
I know.
You should see us when I'm at lunch over there. It's the
Oh,
same
I'm
thing.
sure.
Same exact thing.
Non-stop.
We touch tips all day. 77. everything.
That's yeah.
We just keep it
That's
100 here.
Andrew says, what's the best route to go for power brakes with a Coyote Swap? Speaking in terms of the brake booster specifically.
Well, are we talking about Fox body? Did you mention that at all?
I'd assume it's a Fox body.
Okay, Fox body. Boosters don't fit. No vacuum boosters, even if you get the smallest ones out there. Literally, if you get a master cylinder that has the brake lines aiming at the engine, you're on top of the coil cover.
Oh wow.
So you got to go Hydro Boost if you want to have power brakes. The only options for Hydro Boost are really, if you're using a Fox, you can go 9604 factory Hydro Boost. Hard to find. They haven't been in production for a long time. There's a lot of reman units out there. We've tried to use reman units, and unfortunately, they tend to leak. So Hydrotech is a company that has come out with an aftermarket solution to that with a Hydro Boost unit for Fox bodies. So you can use that, and they have it for other applications. We have not used it ourselves in the shop, but I have heard and talked to a lot of customers that have used it, and they're happy with it. I believe Bear is also coming out with something as well.
Really?
And then there's manual brakes, which if you're asking about boosted brakes, probably not going to be an option for you. But if you do manual brakes properly with good parts
Like his car.
and the right master cylinder, keep this in mind. When we road race, we don't use power assisted brakes in the AI cars. We're
Andrew
manual
came back
brakes.
and said, yeah, it is a Fox body.
Fox
so.
body.
Yeah, that's what I assume. Yeah.
So the thing with manual brakes on a Fox body on a street car is effort in is going to be the effort out.
Yeah. As
So-
is with everything.
Exactly. If you're boosted, if you're
Go ahead.
if you have boosted brakes, it's gonna live and die by whatever the boost is. So if it's vacuum boosted and you rev it up, you have more assist. If you don't rev it up, you have less assist. If you have Hydro Boost, then power steering pump needs to be spinning to match certain levels of effort, and it could fluctuate. So if you do it right, all you're gonna have to deal with is cold brakes, warm them up, and once they're warm, it's not gonna be like pushing against a wall. It should be a nice linear kind of effort to get to full press. You know about full press, right?
All about full press.
Jeremy's chiming in over on YouTube saying this is already one of the best episodes ever.
Really? Man, we must have been slacking.
Dale wants to know what's new with the 18 Mustang with the 2650.
Joe, give him the update. Because I know some stuff's been happening, but I don't know what we can talk about. It made 1,000. It made, I say, it made 1,000. I don't know what it made.
Frankly, we've been so damn busy. It's been collecting cobwebs for the past week. I think
It's running? Is it running and driving?
it runs, drives, gets into boost, all that stuff. We haven't tried any watt shifts or anything yet with the auto. It was basically just a start it up, drive it around the shop type tune. And
Between Justin Young's car being on the dyno, vetting the Gen,
Gen 3
3
stuff,
it's been,
the throttle body testing, everything is just kind of getting in the way of 18 progress right now.
But we'll get it. Trust me. When we get it, we'll get
Yeah, once I get some of these other projects cleared out, I'll begin going hard into 18 stuff again.
it. It's scary.
Yeah.
And then
And then,
No more and then.
William says, sorry if I missed it, but have we done a before and after for L&M cams? And if so, how did we do? How'd they do?
BJ's car.
We
BJ's car is the
is he
only
talking
one.
5-liter L&M intake cams
Let's
or
just
L&M
assume
NSR?
let's just do the only ones we've done, right? Which is GT500 on a stock bottom end. It went from what, 850 to 930?
Yeah, 850 to 930.
850 to 930. So
And then-
850 stock cams, 930. Frank is real familiar with the gains on L&M GT500. How much of a gain do you see, like on the 3.0 pulley E85 13 GT500 before and then after?
We've seen probably about 50 to 60 real horsepower on average. I've seen more depending on how hard we're leaning on that car. But
And they chop nice.
it's easily that kind of power.
Yeah.
You can probably get more, but that's more of a guaranteed number.
Right.
Yeah,
There you go.
a conservative number.
Giovanni wants to know what is needed to swap a second gen Coyote on a first gen Coyote F150.
So is he asking
Nothing.
how? What is
Same-
needed to swap a
cams.
15 to 17 engine into a 11 to 14 truck?
Cams. Put the cams from a 1114 Mustang and the chains and everything. The whole chain stuff in the front and the cams.
If he's got an 11 to 14, he's putting a 15 to 17 long block in it.
Right.
As long as the cams in the 1114 are fine now, just put those in the 15 to 17
And then send
and
it.
roll. 'Cause
Yeah.
You're going to treat it like a long block, not a partially built or timed long block, just heads, rotating assembly, short block kind of deal.
Yeah.
Doug says, what gains are you seeing with custom cams on a boosted Coyote?
Come on.
All of them?
Yeah, it's so many variables. So stay tuned. I don't know.
It's typically what, 30 to 50?
Yeah.
I mean, on high boost cars, you can get
See,
70 out of
the
them.
thing is, he says
but-
custom cams, so we deal with like stuff off the shelf stuff because we like continuity, we like not many variables, and we like to have like a set number that we can.
Why
go
didn't
to.
you try like a 234 duration and a
Right.
236 and a 238?
And why don't you lock them at the same time? Take the whole thing apart, lock them, try them that way, see what the
Yeah.
power curve is like, see what. Get out
Yeah,
of here.
and then test it at 60 degrees Fahrenheit
Right.
and 90 degrees
Right,
Fahrenheit.
and if it's muggy outside, don't make a pull. Wait till
Yeah.
it's at least 70%, or 60%.
Justin Stevens.
And
Go ahead.
Justin Stevens chimed in. He says, I give y'all, I think he meant props. I couldn't do
What
you
did he
do.
say? Pops?
Probs.
Probs.
I give y'all probs.
Give me some probs.
He said the
Come
amount
get
of
it.
penis measuring I seen after you posted Justin's GT500 was insane. So
Well, it depends on where you measure from, right? Do you measure?
the base to the tip? What is the yaw? Yaw.
Exactly.
South Park TMI episode reference. Good
Exactly,
times.
Exactly.
so
You brought it up. I didn't.
You did. You did. And then,
Literally.
what is this thing right here?
Yeah, let's talk about the hub real quick.
Alex,
Well, there's a- well,
Alex, did you see any Coyote swaps at the Pep Boys car show?
no.
Hell to the no.
There was an LS, yeah, right? There was an LS swap that made exactly what I thought it would. 258 horsepower. Piece of junk. So let's talk about this 4R200 hub real quick. Chris, can you get a shot of this, the overhead shot of the 4R200 hub? I'd like Frank to talk about this 4R200 that has been making waves lately.
Hot topic. 4R200 hub. What is a 4R200 hub? It is a direct replacement for your forward planetary in the 6R80. Not a whole lot of folks understand what the forward planetary is doing in the 6R80, but essentially what it's doing is providing gear reduction for essentially fourth and fifth gear in the transmission. It does do some work in the earlier gears, but nothing specific to it. Basically, the outer side gear is really what's doing the magic. And the factory ones, there's 4 individual gears spinning on thrust washers.
Right.
And what we found over time is those tend to fail, shatter, crack, disintegrate, however you want to say it. And we started developing some parts to shore them up, put bearings in them, try to get rid of the heat source, get rid of the thrust washers, put some roller bearings in there, and it worked. We've had them in Donnie's car for quite a while. He beat the snot out of the car for a long time, and finally at Mod Nationals,
The tuner
shattered.
failed them there.
Yeah.
His tuner failed them.
Yeah.
The tune blew up the train.
And so it really wasn't an all fix doing it that way. In the meantime, while we're developing that, we found that, Jake Long, the owner of PBTH, found that, man, if I just get rid of the planetary part of it, the gear reduction, we're going to have a pretty favorable gear set in the 6R80 as long as we can get the transmission to shift 1, 2, 3, 6 and get rid of 4 and 5, which Lund Racing helped us develop in the meantime, and they're still a big part of the part itself, because when you purchase a 4R200, you get a tuning update from them to help make that happen.
Nice.
But essentially what we're doing is getting rid of the 417 first gear in the 6R80, and we're switching it to a 274. We're going to have a 154, 157 second gear, a 1 to 1/3, and a .69 overdrive. .69 overdrive is stock in a 6R80. So however your car drives now, cruising, highway 60 mile an hour and up, it's going to drive the same with the 4R200.
Perfect.
But now we don't have any moving parts that can break. It's shoring up the transmission that much more. We call it the 4R200 because we think it can handle 2,000 horsepower. So you can throw a lot at this part. You may fail somewhere else, but this isn't going to break. It's made of 70-75 aluminum. It's about as hard as steel. It's machined and made here in the U.S. as well. And then gear-wise, you're getting the performance advantage from that, not just shoring up the transmission. And we're seeing a lot of good results. On average, we're seeing about 3 to 4 tenths. Guys just
was it
changing this
Tisdale's
out.
car that went 70s to 40s or
Yeah.
70s to 40s, 3/10.
You know, Joey's car had it, and probably ran the best 60-foot it ever did, but it did on the rear wheels and didn't really register.
Right.
And then subsequently it grenaded because of a center support failure. We think happened.
Right, but this was fine. You pulled this part out of the trans, fine, but the center support went.
Yeah, exactly. Elsewhere it went kaboom.
Yeah.
Big.
I found the other week, like,
Exactly, and it's even there. We haven't seen anything else like that. We've never seen a center support actually rotate
Within
inside
itself,
the
right.
transmission,
Oh, man.
just slice it open.
Yeah, it was pretty gnarly. It was
Pop
pretty,
it.
pretty gnarly looking.
Yeah, it's a unique part. It's not from any type of old school performance stuff. Like you're not going to go, oh, yeah, I saw that once on a Turbo 400. They turned it into a Power Glide.
No.
This is something that is new to the performance industry from what we can gather, and it's kind of unique and only available for 6R80 guys.
Okay.
So you can take advantage of it and not have to put a Glide and a Turbo 400 in. Your tuner that's tuning you now should be able to tune it down the road as you go along with it, and it's available.
do you know if this would work in the ZF transmissions that are in like BMWs and stuff like that? If it works in a 6R80?
I'm not sure. I know in
Okay.
Australia we have a few guys that are inquiring about it for the 6. What do they call it in Australia? The 6R. It's
I want to say it's like a ZF, like a
ZF.
6
I
ZF.
think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
If it has a similar forward planetary, it should work. The question then is going to be, how are you going to tune it? Because we don't have it.
Yeah, we wouldn't be a part of that, but I was wondering because for a while we had a lot of guys from like Russia and the Czech Republic and stuff with BMWs buying TCS intermediate shafts and XZD clutch kits
Yep.
for their
So
BMWs.
So you wonder if it is a direct replacement.
It might. We'd
yeah.
have to get our hands on one, measure it, and see dimensionally if it's going to be the same thing.
But that
If it is,
could be another market for you guys.
There
you go.
If you can find someone that can tune it in those
the key
markets.
is going to be tuning there, because without it, it just won't work without the right tuning, and it's got to be right. Just like any 6R80. The great thing about it is they're computer controlled, right?
All the
Their
solenoids.
Achilles heel is that they're computer controlled. So
Yeah.
if you have the wrong tune in there and 250 real horsepower, you're going to smoke your 6R80.
Smoke it. Anything else coming through, Miss Carrie? Getting caught
Yeah,
up over
hold
there.
on. I'm removing a troll off.
Oh, you're good. Let him troll. Let him
No,
troll,
he's
man.
like going on a Trump and religious rant.
Oh,
so
that's good. We've made it.
people are asking me to remove him, and now they're thanking me for doing so. I put him in timeout.
Dropping the band hammer.
I know, right? I have a question for you, Alex.
Who's your?
Who is Shane Cargain?
No idea.
Okay, he's
I'm
trolling
sorry
as
if I
well.
met you. I meet a lot of people. I just don't know who that is.
Okay, no, I just wanted to make sure. No, he's trolling, so I just wanted to make
No,
sure
no
before. Okay. Nickel White says I'll be installing my Mantic clutch tomorrow. Will I
Sweet.
need to do a crank relearn
Yes.
S550?
Yes, if you
Yes.
watch the episode, we answered that question. Nickel, you know better.
You know where? Get off me, child's play.
Barry says, can you explain why my GT500 Gen 2R stock manifolds is beat the shit out of Whipper 2.9s? Please explain.
We don't go.
What?
do
I'm not-
comparisons.
I'm not
We're
getting
doing
into that.
We're not doing that.
Sorry, no.
You just fired?
No.
Oh,
Here we
that's
go.
the chair.
Juan says, what would I need for a Coyote Swap on the 73 Mach 1?
Everything. A Coyote would be nice, right? A Coyote engine, the swap brackets.
Is the booster clear of the engine? I assume there ain't no way in hell if there's a pushrod engine in there that a
No.
booster would ever fit
No.
next to that engine.
You don't know. I mean, I don't know for sure on that car in particular. I know the F100 guys don't have the issue because their engine bays are so big they can get away with just
They got
about
them
anything.
big block engine bays.
But you really need to kind of go the same list you would need for a Fox body. If you can find that, or you can call us and we can email it to you. You need to address all the questions. What are we going to do with the car? What's the budget? You know, at the end of your investment, what do you really want to have? Because you're going to have to address how to fit the motor in there, suspension-wise, motor mount-wise. You're going to have to figure out what motor you want to get, new or used. Is it automatic or manual? Can you reuse the transmission you have now? Drive shaft, probably going to be custom.
Yeah.
Control pack, fuel system, you know, a minimum 255 liter per hour pump in the tank, 58 PSI, no vacuum on the regulator, return style to mimic the returnless system. You know, it goes on.
Let's just say
and
it's
on.
everything.
You need it all.
everything.
You
You should
everything.
email them, Frank at pbhperformance.com.
Yep.
Frank at pbhperformance.com. Email them and they'll get you a list out of what you need because we could literally be here telling you everything and we'll get one question answered. And you'll be like, whoa, well, you didn't answer my question about that
You
bracket
need
that I need.
6 M8 1.25 by 40 millimeter bolts.
Give them a package list. It's like, yes,
We
that's
only
my
use
question.
12 point.
Hey Frank, do you like your pinga with or without a pin?
With
Pan, pinga con pan.
sin pan.
Pinga con pan.
Sin pan. No bread.
No bread.
I'm on a diet.
No bread. Carb free.
Yeah. Loosen
Protein.
up.
Yep.
Cobb. It's Cobb free.
Cab.
Sorry, I had to throw that in there.
Who is that from?
Christian.
Christian.
Oh,
Christian Papa?
Christian's still not working, huh?
Not working. Nope.
Dustin says, do straight E85 tunes make more power than flex tunes on a 13 6R80 car?
Yes. Not power. I would say it makes more torque because you can put the timing in earlier, but flex tunes are good. They're fine. They make power, but I prefer a dedicated E85 tune. I'm not going to go out there and say it's absolutely going to make more because if you have 50% ethanol and that's all you have available to you, that's kind of all we can work with.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't say there's too much power difference between the two, but there is certainly a consistency difference in power between the two.
Jose says, doing a Coyote Swap F150 motor 2013 on a F150, what else would I need other than the bracket ACC kit?
If he's got, what year's his F-150? That would be the first
He's going to
question.
answer in like 10 minutes.
Yeah, if it's an F-150 that had a modular Ford engine in it, 4654, there's a good chance that our brackets will work with the power steering pump and with the AC compressor.
Okay.
If you want a Coyote alternator, you want to have a Mustang timing cover on the engine because the F-150 timing cover is different. It doesn't have some of the provisions for timing, for tensioners and for idlers, and the alternator on the F-150 Coyote engines is different than the Mustang.
2005.
2005. So he should be able to reuse his main accessories, power steering and AC, which is nice because they're going to be in the stock location, which means you can use the stock lines, AC lines, and power steering lines.
All there.
Then the rest of it's a matter of plumbing, fabrication, and wiring.
Jason says, when swapping a 6R80 into a 96 GT, what do I need to get to control the trans?
If you're using a Coyote motor, you can use our control pack.
No, but I'm sure he has a Cobra, right?
If you got a Cobra, we're working on it. We're trying to figure out, we have a car in the shop right now. We're putting a 6R80 in. It's a Terminator. It's twin turbo.
Termi?
It's a Termi. We're going to try to get the Termi motor or engine. Is it a motor or an engine?
I don't know.
Engine.
Termi engine to be run by the Coyote computer so that we can in turn control the 6R80 just like it is in factory. So you can meet all the expectations based on everything you see online.
Oh my God.
I know somebody that wanted to do that like 2 years ago.
Yeah,
It's
almost.
possible. There's a couple guys have done it, and there actually is a book that you can buy that somebody released to help you do it. Haven't run into that yet, but we're going to try to use our product basically and show you how it's done with what we already have in circulation.
Perry wants to know, Frank, is there anything coming for the 10R80?
Not as of yet.
Two for our 200 hubs.
If we bolt two of these together, you'll have a power glide.
Yeah, basically, we're working on welding these together, and you're just having one massive rotating thing. It's going to be called the 4R2 million.
It's going to be the 2R1
Two-
million.
Do you put the shift linkage right here on it? Or is it right here?
You have to weld it. To
Direct
put it on
drive.
that.
Direct
Okay,
drive.
so aluminum to
Wedge
steel, we'll braze it together.
Yeah. But no,
Bronze rod.
we don't have anything as of yet. Probably the only thing that we potentially can get to first would be frictions and steels. We have our own brand of frictions and steels now that are available through us. The FNS kit, which is based with the Ray Best's GPZ frictions and steels, made to our spec. And then potentially that should transfer over to the 10R80 fairly easily, but we haven't had a chance to really develop that yet.
Just an FYI, this is probably one of our highest ranking episodes at this point.
Sweet.
We're averaging about 100 viewers on each channel.
Puppy.
Listen, I'm not going to tell you
Bing,
why that
bing.
happened,
Yeah.
but I'm pretty sure I know why it happened.
Is
I'm
he
just
was
saying.
getting the bicho tasos from the back.
Salvador
Thank you,
says
everybody.
JDM versus L&M cams on a GT500. Which cams provide the most horsepower gains?
Salvador Ortega, 07 to 10 GT500. Which are the best cams that you've seen? Have you tried JDM stuff versus L&M? I hate to pit them against each other, but we got nothing to do with that, so it's all good.
I
Oh,
don't think so.
so L&M's kind of the go-to.
We're talking about no
inside.
spring required?
Yep, no spring
Yeah.
required. Drop that bitch in and let it do what it does.
I have not. We've done probably 10 or 12 cam swaps on GT500s in recent times, and used L&M. We've used NPR. We used a set of the JDMs, and out of all of those, none of them really stood out to me to
Okay.
be something that was
Significantly
clear cut better.
better.
And I got to change all my sales tactics and use this one only for best results. I think you're going to be happy with all of them. Your range on power gains probably again going to be 40, 50, 60 horsepower depending on the combo, maybe more. Drivability would probably be the next thing. I know L&M has that low vacuum bypass thing
Yep.
for the cams too to help it.
Frank, might you be working on a 93 Cobra Coyote swap? Carlos says, any numbers on the gorgeous 93 Cobra with the Coyote swap yet?
Not yet. It's not running yet. We're still fabricating turbo pipes, hot side, cold side. Jake's handling all that. That car will have, it's a sleeved, built NPR motor. It's got everything thrown at it. It's going to have basically the fluid twin turbo system, but customized. It's going to have an air-to-air intercooler, the 4R200 transmission. It's going to have our control pack on it. TIG Vision did the cage, suspension. It's got a chute on it. It's
It is
ready
That's going to
for
be like
war.
the flagship
It is-
PBH car.
It is so mint.
We hope so. It's it's going to be beautiful. It's going to have the potential to do a lot. We'll see exactly
What his plans
Wayne,
are for it.
the
How it's
owner of the car,
implemented.
where he takes it and uses it. But no doubt about it, it's going to have everything that you would want in a street-minded track.
Ready.
Ass kind of 93, and it is a real 93 Cobra, so
It's a real
it's going to
93
scratch
Cobra.
the ass of a lot of the Fox body guys,
Oh,
but
heavy breathing.
What are you doing to it?
God, it's a
It'll-
classic.
it's still going to be awesome.
Shut up.
And we're not cutting it.
But did it die though?
what just happened?
Paul says, stock for stock, what's a more reliable motor for boost? I know the 5.0s respond better to boost due to high compression, but what motor can really take the punishment? 11 to 14 or 15 to 18 Coyote 5.0, 12 to 13 Roadrunner Boss 5.0, or a Condor 5.4 or Trinity 5.8?
Jesus.
Oh my God.
A
Yeah.
GT500 engine will take more power, period.
Done. Next question. But why? Explain why. No.
And Dan.
Next question.
Next question.
Condor.
Giovanni.
Is it the Condor or the Roadrunner? Because there is a difference. And then the 1114 is the Gen 1. There's really, the Gen 2 is really the 1314. Shut
Was it a
up.
Romeo build? Windsor?
Right.
Are we talking new edge stuff
Did it have
now?
squirters or not? Because I don't really
Let's
get
mix it all
squirter.
up. How about the two?
Does it have
What's up?
13 bolt cam covers or 11 bolt cam covers? Mm-hmm. Does it have the 8 bolt
getting
nodular
off on
crank
tangents.
or the forged crank?
Need the Mexican block.
Yeah, need the Mexican. The Mexican block?
Giovanni.
The A4.
An 18 manifold on a 16 Mustang GT. I have seen online that the IMRC solenoid pigtails are being spliced together.
Right.
Is there an aftermarket pigtail that is a Y to avoid this?
Not that I am aware of.
No one's made it yet.
I'm sure you could make it, but I don't think anyone has yet.
No.
Maybe that's a good idea. Invention 101. Jesse says, Alex, something about tuning a 12 GT with a Vortex supercharger.
What's his name?
His name is Jesse Espinoza.
Espinoza. What about it?
He says that he's waiting for you to get back to him about tuning his 12 GT with a Vortex supercharger.
The problem is a lot of people hit me up on Facebook, and I don't do business over Facebook. Let's get that real straight right away. If you hit me up about anything business related on Facebook, I do not reply. If you want to send me pictures of some hot chick's ass, we're good. But business stuff, that's Facebook. You want to hit me up? You hit me up at my company email, wherever I'm at the time. That's where I do business.
You got to send him pictures of the bicho taso.
The bicho taso from the back.
Entry fee.
So yeah, if you're asking me about tuning up your car on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, I simply don't respond. No offense.
What do you mean you don't want to work in your free time?
Right. I want to see like cat pictures and stuff, and you're like, oh, hey, can you tune my car? No, I just did that for 12 hours. I'm good.
Gustavo wants to know what blower should I use on my 04 GT?
Just drive it to the junkyard.
Is it Coyote swapped yet?
And well, probably Department of Boost kit at like 2 pounds of boost.
I don't even think Department of Boost
They
makes
don't
a
even make
2-valve
it?
kit.
Oh my god.
Torque Tech makes a kit that you
Torque
can
Tech.
run
There you
a TVS, either Magnuson supercharger or the 0304 Cobra base supercharger.
Okay.
We had one brought to us that had a 4-liter Whipple on it. I don't know how
2
he did it.
valve?
It's a 2-valve.
How the hell did he do
It
that?
was a 5-liter 2-valve with a 4-liter Whipple crusher.
Yes,
inlet
it was red.
shit. Yep.
Yeah.
Really nice car, but it made like, I want to say it was like
540?
600 horsepower,
Yeah.
like 29 pounds of boost.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
It was like, it's kind
It
of it,
was
man.
just-
That's par for the course for 2
Looked
valves.
awesome, sounded great, but
Just wasn't making it.
just not enough head.
I'm impressed that the crank was
I hate
happy.
it when you don't get enough.
I wonder if that was a cast crank or a forged
Unfortunately, I
crank.
was going the same place.
Hey,
Hey, how you
what do you do later?
It's working.
Keenan says, getting out my little 2-valve and into a Coyote in the next few days. Loves the videos. Keep up the good work, guys.
Thank you.
Frank,
Golf
why
clap,
do you
golf
not
clap.
make a shifter cable bracket to go with the 6R80 arm that you provide?
Oh, a shifter cable bracket?
The main reason is we did come up with a bracket to hold the AODE and the 4R70W cable. Because when you mount this on the 6R80 and you put your cable on there, you need a fixed mounting position for the cable to actuate, right? But what we found is as soon as we make one for up here, someone calls us and needs one back here or one up here, or they're using low cars cable or they're using somebody else's cable. The best that we could do is just recommend that you go to your hardware store and get yourself a piece of nice 90-degree angle. Drill it for the transmission pin bolts, and then drill it for the mount cable, whichever cable you're using, and then place that on the transmission. Because we really couldn't nail down exactly what was going to work best for everyone.
There's
We
not
didn't
like a
wanna-
one-size-fits-all, and you don't want to
Exactly.
make 10 different ones
Right.
It's gonna
to
be
sell
custom.
2 a year.
And if we do sell it, then we don't make that clear. And unfortunately, some guys don't read the listing. Then
You mean people don't read what they're about to buy?
correct,
And
it
then-
can happen.
Then there's 2 days before he has to get to his next meet or show
And it's
that
your
he was
fault
going for.
that you didn't get the
And you
right
need to
bracket.
overnight it to make it right.
You told me it would work. No, I didn't. But yes, that's kind of the reason why we are working on an instructional video on how to install this lever here in particular, because we get a lot of questions about that. Doing a nice video and then showing how we make one of those brackets and how it would work with the shifter on the transmission.
Very
So
good.
stay tuned for that on our own YouTube and Facebook.
Ryan says, would really like to know what I need to stuff the Coyote from my 197 into a 95. Not a 96, not a 93. What K member?
You need a tubular K member for a modular motor. So you need a tubular K from a 96 to 04 to put in your 95. And it should drop right in. It should be the same swap as a Fox.
What
or
control
96
arms does he
to-
need?
He needs the 96 to, he needs the SN95 ones, the wider ones.
Okay.
If it's maximum, you have to decide if you want forward offset, standard offset, no offset.
Well, I asked because I couldn't remember if the 94 95s use Fox A arms with the Fox K.
No, they're
No,
different.
they are the thinner ones, right?
I think they're the shorter width.
Gotcha. So it's
Because
Fox line.
yeah, I would think so, but
79,
definitely
80.
try to confirm that with someone else.
95 then, I think, yeah. So Fox. But you still need a modular engine K member.
Yep, true story.
Salvador says, can a sub 1,000 wheel horsepower 6R80 guy benefit from the 4R 2000, or is that mainly for 1,200 wheel plus applications?
Well, you can benefit from the 4R200.
Yeah,
The
he's
2000 is not out
It's
yet.
not out yet. That's when we doubled it up for the 10R80.
Yes, Salvador, absolutely. You can benefit from this, from the gearing, whether you have an NA car or a 2,000 horsepower car. So really you have a two-pronged pro to this part. The durability that it provides by eliminating the forward planetary and its potential failure point. And two, it changes your gear ratio. Now, does that gear ratio benefit what you're doing with your car? In this instance, potentially, I would say yes if it's going to the track at all, or even if you're
A street racer.
street racer,
it's
roll
9
racer.
Yeah, he has a 9.0 car that's London tuned. So if he gets this on, and we've seen 3/10 improvement.
I would say that 3/10 would transfer to him as well. If anything with the gear ratio, it's going to make it easier to go down the track because there's less things going on. The computer doesn't have to be spot on that 1-2 shift, and then if it doesn't get it right, it closes the throttle and you ruin your run, and things just go bad. This elongates that first gear
Oh,
and
It'll
widens
help out
it.
the 20. It will help with the 20 rolls, is what you're saying.
Correct.
For the DSM boys.
And what we recently did is, I know Jake and John Jr. are working on it. The downshift from overdrive is 4.2 now.
right.
And it's really
Oh,
comfortable. You did it in
that's-
the video.
Yeah, and that's Donnie. Donnie does 6.2s all the time. My Donnie, not this Donnie.
So yeah, do it.
Do it. Buy it. Do it.
You won't.
Jason says, I'm using a 12 F150 Coyote for my early Mustang swap. If I'm only using the alternator and AC compressor, do I still need to change the timing cover?
No, because if you're using just AC and alternator, you're going to leave everything stock.
There you go.
You wouldn't need any of our products to do that as long as the alternator fits and you don't need to relocate it. You can use the newer.
Stay still, you're
Stay
rocking.
still. You can
He's
use
just
the
having a good
newer
time.
style AC compressors. What you want to be mindful of there is that the newer style AC compressors require an expansion valve for their AC systems. Plus, the fittings in the back are kind of custom and different. So, what we do, if you want to change to the older style AC compressor, where there's a lot more availability for adapter fittings and using factory pieces, you can buy just our AC brackets. In fact, you can buy any of our kit a la carte. So if you see something there, you want to do something custom, you can buy just the alternator, AC, or power steering as well.
Sweet.
Jeff wants to know what Coyote motor and auto transmission would you recommend for a 73 F150? 73 F100.
72 I have the recommendation, but 73, is it yellow?
For any of those projects, if you're for ease of installation, what I would recommend is go out and source yourself a Gen 1 Mustang powertrain. I think that's going to be, and you want to kind of target something with the least amount of miles, away from all the potential issues the early engines had. So try to find yourself like a 13, 14 automatic powertrain. If you do that, and you get a lot of parts from the donor vehicle, like PCM, the sensors, O2s, mass airflow meter, gas pedal, you can use a lot of the wiring that comes with that powertrain. And since we do sell our control pack as a whole and a la carte, you can buy just the body harness, reprogram the PCM, and you're ready to bolt it in the car and fire it up, or the truck in this case.
Yep.
Cobra Bob wants to know, Frank, I want to swap a 6R80 into my 04 Cobra. Can I get a harness to use the copperhead computer to control the original 4-valve Cobra motor and
We
6R80?
literally just answered this.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
Oh, did
It's,
he?
it's coming.
Just rewind about 20 minutes, and the answer is right
I
there.
think I've talked to Cobra
Sorry.
Bob a few times about
No,
it.
no, it's not your fault.
We're in the process of figuring that out right now, and not that it's going to be anytime soon. Probably in a couple months we'll actually have an answer. We're just starting to work on that vehicle to test that.
Dickie wants to know, is there any driving break-in recommendation recommended after a power-by-the-hour auto swap? Example, 2013 GT500. Considering driving the 800 plus miles from my location to power by the hour, but I don't have a car trailer.
There's no real break-in period for the internals on the 6R80. We all the time build them and put them right on the dyno, make hits, and go to the track, and there's no issues there. No, there is no break-in period I can recommend other than checking the fluid when it's warm, and we do that for you.
We're talking wet clutches here, not dry clutches.
Right.
Nickel wants to know, Alex, can I get an update on your K member? Been thinking about getting one myself.
American Motorsports. K-member and G?
Double A Performance, I
There
think.
we go.
Which is Tradition Motorsports. We're the
That's
ones that
what
put
it
it
is.
in. It's been good, trouble-free, no issues. So that's kind of all I have to report. The car actually lost enough weight to notice a ride height difference. The nose is up in the air a little bit. So I'm considering putting like a set of IBOC Pro Kit or something in there just to kind of level it out. But no issues. Do it, at will. It drops a lot of weight. It's good, no issues, no sound. It still retain power steering, so I highly recommend it.
Frank, do you offer any Coyote bracket that will allow deleting all the accessories, including water pump, retaining only the alternator?
So it'll be
Yeah.
electric water pump.
So electric water, yeah, you can use, we'll have to put something custom together for you, but essentially you're gonna do is buy our alternator bracket to relocate it. He mentioned relocating, right?
Yeah, I mean
Okay.
just everything but the alternator.
Yeah, he said the only thing he wants to retain is the alternator. He wants to delete all the accessories, including the water pump.
But on a Coyote car?
On the
or-
Coyote,
So he wants to.
do you offer any Coyote bracket?
We do. It would relocate the alternator to where we have it in our bracket kit. It's going to be top passenger side timing cover area. And then if you have electric water pump, the water pump at that point, if we're just driving the alternator, won't even need a belt. You don't have to put anything on that side. You can take the idler
And no
off,
power
tensioner
steering,
off.
nothing.
No power steering, so no AC. So we can get you that alternator bracket and the belt that's required for it and rock and roll.
Nice.
Kevin says, what's the highest wheel horsepower do you guys think an NA 15 to 17 and up Coyote can handle?
I really don't think there's a limit. I don't think you're going to ever see a limit
800?
that it'll handle
Right,
in
right.
a.
I mean,
800,
yeah.
900.
Yeah,
Whatever the
but
rods will hold. I mean,
I think you're going to find a bore limit before you find that.
Ben's actually working on it. Ben has an NA badass build from Brett Barber, Racer's Edge. So we'll find out shortly what that thing makes. But like he said, I don't think there's like a limit per se. It's depending on how it's built.
I'm going to give you a tuning question. Josh says, is a P0508 engine code
P0508.
cold start idle air control something you guys see a lot? It's in
No.
a 17 GT, stalls when cold. I have a data log sent in. Just curious if you dealt with this code and if it's something in the tune.
It could be, but I haven't really seen anything like that. Our base
I
files
haven't
are
seen
pretty
a
straightforward.
I haven't seen a PO508 before, but if you send in a data log, just wait for us to take a peek at it, and we'll let you know what we see in the data.
Over on YouTube, Donnie Renfro's chiming in.
Really?
Larry
Donnie? I should be working on Bentleys right now.
He says, looks more like Larry, Curly, and Mo.
Which one's Mo?
Yeah.
Well, I'm the fat one.
Right.
Is there a fat one? I don't think there is a fat one. He's not that fat. He's just big boned.
He's a curly, bro. What's wrong with you?
Hold on one second. We got a whole bunch of questions over
A
here
whole
on YouTube.
slew? Do we have a
A
slew? though?
schloo?
We have a whole bunch.
Speed round.
A schlub?
I said slew one week and nobody knew what it meant except for
This
me.
is the last thing I want to talk about before we end the show. I want to make sure we mention these little guys here eventually.
Oh, there's another question coming in for Frank. Another for Frank. Does the alternator relocation bracket include an extension for the alternator control wire, or does the end user have to splice and extend?
You shouldn't have to splice it, extend it. If you're using a control pack from Ford Racing, it'll reach. If you're using a stock application, there should be enough wire there. You may have to kind of move it, up the back of the engine over the top instead of underneath it, because it is part of the transmission harness, not the engine harness, in a 11 to 14 car, at least I know that. I don't know about a 15, 17. But in a Ford Racing control pack, it should reach. In some cases, we have heard it was a little tight, but that's just a difference in manufacturing from whoever's doing the harnesses for Ford Racing. With our stuff, it definitely reaches.
Don Bedra is
Hey,
chiming
Don.
in. He says, tell Frank and Alex hi, and that Alex should have driven my GT500 in the 4R200 swap yesterday a little faster.
Nope.
The car looked great, and I cannot wait to come down and pick it up.
Because if
Nice.
I wreck it because it has stock tires,
It is a GT500.
it's a GT500. It's a
so-
legit GT. Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna just treat it nice because it looks like it's never been driven hard because it has like 4,000 miles. I'm not gonna be that guy to beat the crap out of that car. It's not my car. I just wanted to showcase the shifting and that's it.
It's the same thing. I know Don just bought new wheels and tires, so when he comes to pick it up, we can go to the track with it.
Okay.
Because it's on stock rubber, and that's
Yeah.
not going to work.
Nope.
Run 10s.
It drove great up here.
Yeah.
Ran at 120 miles an hour the whole way up.
Cruise control.
Did a bunch of donuts.
Yep.
Don, it's beautiful.
Did some wheelies.
Peyton says, what is your favorite Coyote Swap you have ever done? What is one car you would like to Coyote Swap that you haven't?
Nice, finally.
Is it for me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Coyote Swap, any car I want. That's a tough one. I'd love to do my 67 Falcon that my dad and I own. But for sheer shock factor, I'd love to Coyote Swap like a GT3 Cup car. And just ruin all the Porsche guys' like lives. We already did that once. We tuned that Cayman that was Coyote Swapped, and we got hate mail for the first time ever.
Good.
It was wonderful.
That's how you made
And
it.
for the people that don't know Porsches, like myself, GT3 is the naturally aspirated 3.6.
They have it as they have the 3.6. There's up to a 4.0 at some point, and then they went back to like I think a 3.8.
And the GT2 is turbocharged.
Turbo.
So you'd be talking about Coyote swapping a naturally aspirated
Yeah,
Porsche, basically road race car.
it'd be cool.
Joe, what would you Coyote Swap if you had a favorite car to Coyote Swap?
An 03 Crown Victoria.
Be cool.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with
I'd
that.
like to do an Impala SS.
Be neat.
That'd
Nice
be
car. I like those cars, but it needs power. It needs a Coyote.
We have a customer doing a Grand National right now.
Oh, that guy's gonna
That,
gonna cause so much butthurt.
It's
How's
gonna
that
be
project
very-
coming? I saw
He
something
hasn't
about
sent me
that
many
a month
updates
ago.
recently, but I know he's working on fabbing a lot of pieces for it. Listen, a Coyote would be great just about any vehicle you want to throw it in. It's just a good running motor that's smooth and makes power.
Gets great gas mileage too.
We have one in airboat.
So
We tuned one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Paul
Supercharged
says,
airboat.
Paul on YouTube says, Coyote Swap is super just to be that guy.
That'd be pretty fun.
Yeah.
You need to,
Someone else is saying swap a C6 Z06.
Well, it's still
Nah.
gonna rattle down the road.
a
so-
WS6 Trans Am.
Yeah.
How about
Yes.
a Marauder? How about a Marauder?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's been done.
Yeah, it's been
And
done.
They work great.
I just can't get up for it. Sorry.
Now I'm getting all sorts of stuff. Miata, that would be the real deal.
No, an Exoset. The Coyote swapped Exoset.
Shit from Shinola says, heard my new F150 is speed density instead of math. Can you explain the difference and why Ford would change in trucks only?
Why?
No mass airflow sensor. There. I mean, they
Well,
want you to
I think
explain
he's
the
asking
difference.
why did they change it.
Yes,
I
can
don't-
you explain the difference and why Ford would change it in the trucks only?
The difference being the way that it fuels. One fuels off a mass airflow sensor, the other fuels off a pressure reading that runs through a couple logic tables to achieve a final fueling result. But why? I can't tell you why. I'm not Ford. I don't know why they did it that way. The math stuff
not.
has worked just fine,
Right.
but they changed the speed density. In some cases, speed density is a little better at handling transient fueling than a mass airflow car is, which makes it a bit easier from an emission standpoint. But I felt like Ford got the math pretty well figured out with the manifold volume logic, some of the inferred speed density going on in the background. But maybe at the end of the day, they're like, instead of putting all that research R&D into making an inferred logic for speed density so that we could get transients right, let's just put it to speed density.
Right.
But
Who knows why?
I don't know.
Howland says, well, let me look here.
Yeah. Proofreader. Helen says.
Yeah.
Bicho tasos.
Let's go to Dakota. Dakota says, in the process of doing a 15 Coyote swap on an 83 Chevy C10, any tips for me and any roadblocks I may run into?
It really should. I mean, your biggest roadblocks are going to be fitting it in there, whatever you do for motor mounts, because you're not going to have an off-the-shelf suspension kit that you can really go to. Firewall potentially. I'm not sure on a C10. You said it was C10 or S10? C10.
C10. Oh, a Cyclone.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
If you got to cut the tunnel or not. Usually on the full-size trucks you don't. Cross members are going to have to be fabricated and so forth, but there really should be no roadblocks in running the powertrain, fueling it, powering it, electrically, accessory-wise. It's all about trying to get that Coyote motor to fit in your box.
Do you see a lot of guys running the Corvette return fuel filters?
Return fuel filters?
They have
The Chevy ones.
like a 97 to 02 Chevrolet Corvette fuel filter has an internal regulator.
55 PSI,
Yeah.
and you can put it in line and basically not have to put a regulator on.
Oh, wow.
We haven't used it ourselves. We like using the Ford Innovation stuff.
Yeah, same here.
It's really nice. You can kind of put it where you need to. but that is an option.
Well, I know a lot of the C10 guys that do LS swaps run that fuel system with that filter. So to that end, I think he may be able to use that if he already has something like that in the truck.
Correct.
But buy 4 innovations.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Daddy?
And
Jason is sitting there saying Coyote Swap a BMW 3 Series. And then Ken says a Crown Vic with a Gen 3 would be a pretty awesome sleeper.
Yeah, it would.
It's
Coyote
still
Swap.
heavy.
It's 4,000 pounds.
Exactly. It's heavy.
My truck is 4,000 pounds.
Exactly. It's heavy.
Your
Peyton,
SI50 is 4,000 pounds.
Exactly.
Peyton says he's
Fairmont.
swapping a 16 F-150 Coyote into a 1970 Mustang. What are the differences between a 15 to 17 F-150 versus an 11 to 14 F-150? Are cams as bad on a 15 to 17 as an 11 to 14?
No.
Also, what oil pans have you used for swapping things?
And what bolts go on the back of this? And what flywheel? Oh my goodness, this guy was all over the place.
That's on the F. He's doing an F100. You said, or
No, he wants to know the difference
F-150.
between an F1, it's 15, 17 F-150 motor versus an 11 to 14. That's kind of the basics of the
he's a
question.
70s
He's
Mustang.
doing a 16 F-150
Yeah.
Coyote into a 70 Mustang.
For the oil pan, you're probably gonna have to refer to whoever is doing your suspension in the front because you're gonna have to make some changes up there. But typically, we don't run into having to change too many oil pans. If we do, we like to use a stock one. So we'll modify a stock one before we go buy an aftermarket one. Aftermarket units just tend to have either fitment issues elsewhere because they're supersized. So instead of 8 quarts, they're like 10 or 11 quarts. And now they're hitting headers and so forth, and they're more prone to leaking. And we like to use as many OEM products as possible. So if there's an issue clearing that front sump to the rear sump area, it's usually where the rack is and so forth. Spend the time and have somebody fabricate it for you or fabricate it yourself with a nice piece of angle and make it work because it's going to be, I think, overall better fit.
You're still getting more Coyote Swap ideas. Swap an Audi S4 with a Coyote.
Okay, we have some weird fans. I
A
don't know if they're-
B4 or B5 S4.
Someone says a 69 Boss 302 Coyote Swap.
I wouldn't do that. No, in my opinion, I would keep that sucker just the way it came because of value at the end of the day, because it's not fast anyway. So just keep it original. I wouldn't mess with anything specialty. Shelby, Boss. I'd keep it as it came, in my opinion.
Kloss says, does Power by the Hour have the Gen 1 control packs in stock? Seems like everyone's out of stock.
For the Ford Racing Gen 1 control packs for manual transmission are still on back order. I have a few that are on back order since the beginning of January, and they have not released yet. We are working on using our body harness to allow us to use it in a manual transmission setup, so look for that fairly soon, but we're actually on back order on our own body harness because it's on fire right now. We're trying to address that. We have more of them coming in. We're going to be probably middle of May before we get ours back on the shelf to really try it and do it.
Tony says, do you know anyone selling a nice Coyote Swap Fox Notch? Any idea what they would be worth?
For sale.
Depending on the engine, depending on trans.
Too many variables.
Yeah, you can get like a Gen 2 swapped notch, clean paint. You could ask for whatever the hell you want, 25 to 30, pretty easily.
I see them a lot on Facebook, Coyote Swap Fox Bodies, that group.
Yep.
They seem to be either mid-build and they're giving up on it, or it's something that's already done and for sale. And we see them popping up all over the place. They're available out there. I saw one sell the other day for 12 grand. That was an 87. Aftermarket T-tops with a VMP blower on it, Coyote Swap with a TKO trans for 12 grand.
Bought it in a
Dang.
heartbeat.
Running
Bought
and
it
driving.
in a heartbeat.
With the porno red interior and
Oh, what? The
Red.
like velour porno
Nice
red?
color.
Bow, bow.
Yeah.
It was a really nice car in the pictures. I don't know if it was that, but could have been a scam.
Catfish.
Hey, yo.
God, I hate it when that happens.
Yeah.
Heyo.
They got
me. Glex 25 says, what is needed to swap a second gen Coyote into a first gen F-150?
Second gen.
Covered
Coyote.
that one.
Yep,
Yeah.
cams. Swap your cams over, and that's it. Treat it like a long block.
Scott says, are there any Coyote Swap headers that will work with a Power Glide transmission and a Fox body?
Yes. For the most part, all the Coyote Swap headers should give you the clearance you need to at least get up at the collector past the bell housing, because they're never going to collide with the stock starter. So you should have room there. As far as mid-pipe, you're going to have to make a custom one, or take one that's designed for that header and then modify it. That's usually where we have more collision issues. The manual transmission cars every once in a while have issues with the clutch forks, depending on where it's at in the bell housing and what you're using. But you shouldn't have an issue using like a set of ARH headers with a slip fit 3-inch collector, and then just modifying it from there back.
Peyton says, can you swap an 11 to 14 Mustang cams on? Is that pretty much what we already answered?
Yes.
Into
Yes. A Gen 2 or a 15 up motor.
yeah. 15 to 17. Yeah.
You do it both ways.
The cams, Coyote cams will swap into any other Coyote.
Right.
Modular.
Yeah, you just have to make sure that your tuning is going to be okay with those cams and that the engine's going to be okay with the cams.
Bubba
Such as
Blue says, hey guys,
hydroponics.
I'm wanting to convert my 2012 to E85. What all has to be done and the best results? And is the extra power worth the horrible gas mileage?
Yes.
Probably do a flex too.
2012 GT500 or 2012 GT?
Frank's is like, we could do a flex tune. They vendor Lund Racing tuning and they're okay with flex tunes. We are not doing flex tunes. But power by the hour, Lund Racing, all day.
Root Beer says, will a defective rear O2 sensor affect short trims as much as a pre-cat O2 sensor?
No.
Not as much. It will apply a correction if FAOSC is enabled or disabled.
Forward aft sensor.
Forward aft oxygen sensor control. But it shouldn't affect it as much as a front O2 sensor being out.
Who makes a one-piece drive shaft that works good with the S550 automatic with the Roush Phase 1 supercharge?
Oh, so the supercharger. Sorry, I don't
I
want to be a
think
dick.
all the automatic drive shafts you find in retail are pretty good.
We tried DSS, G-Force. I haven't tried any other brands as of yet, but those two were on the red car and they were fine. But for another supercharger, I don't know.
Rashid says, Joe, why do you keep knocking stuff off the table? You flick things off the table. Why?
Oh, they're hairs.
You're
They
like a
bug
kitty
me.
cat.
Yeah, they're like hairs
I don't
from my
see
arm or his
anything.
arm. Yeah, you're not going to see
Well, if
it.
they're curly, they're mine. If they're straight, they're yours.
Yeah.
Because race.
Yeah, there's one right there. Bye.
Bye.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's all good.
That's
from
really curly,
top.
though.
Yeah, look, it's like right here.
Where's that one
That
from?
might be.
I don't know.
Anyway.
77 Ford Bug says, keep up the great work, guys. Going from global to per cylinder with knock sensors on a 15 GT. I noticed the knock sensors are not adding timing anymore before I could see anywhere from 2 to 5 degrees.
Okay.
So is he logging knock sensor, thinking that he's going to see what the per cylinder is doing?
Right.
Because you're not.
I think he's watching it go. He's expecting it to go -5 to see if it's adding or subtracting. If you're logging Spark Advance and Spark Advance V2, that's kind of the best way. But you'll see if it gets a little wavy on Spark Advance V2, and that tells you that it's not a smooth. It's being pulled from somewhere. But you should be able to log individual if the tune is open. But if it's not, trust your tuner at that point.
Yep.
Curtis says, Frank, can you address what all is needed to install a 6R80 and an 11 GT500?
Okay, good question. 11 GT500, 11 to 14 GT500 is probably the easiest one to swap as far as a GT500 goes. You can use a lot of the parts from an 11 to 14 Mustang. What you're going to approach it as is you want to run a GT computer in a GT500. So harness-wise, engine harness and body harness stay the same. Automatic transmission harness, GT computer, you got to match the VIN number from the computer to the ABS units. You don't get an ABS light. And then bolt in basically all the hard parts, as we call them. Transmission, flex plate, torque converter, separator plates, shifter. You got to change the master cylinder reservoir. You're going to get rid of your clutch pedal and brake pedal combo, put an automatic brake pedal in there. You get an 11 to 14 GT drive shaft, transmission cooler. Basically everything an auto has that a manual doesn't have. And put it in there electronically. It should be no different than putting in a GT computer in a GT and doing the programming sequence, but you're doing it in a GT500. And remember to have both keys for the PCM when you program it.
Damn, there you go.
Can you swap a 10R80 and a 15 to 17?
Nope.
One more thing on that GT500, you need a return style adaptation to the fuel system if you don't already have it, so we can mimic the returnless system.
And no 10R80 and 15, 17.
Eric Collins says, for Alex, I love your tune. Is it normal to see some of the knock sensors not pegged full advance when it's set to per cylinder mode.
Yeah, you'll see different conditions per different cylinders. They're not all going to advance or retard the same. They'll have varying conditions because some are burning harder than others, some have more or less knock activity, some are happier than others. It's just the nature of the beast.
Yep. They're not all going to be at 5
-3 or
at 3
plus
or
3 or
anything.
Who's got their phone on in here, Carrie?
Oh, I
Who
don't
is
know.
that?
Someone named Muhammad is calling me.
Oh, pick it up.
Oh, how's
put
it
it,
been?
just put it on D&D.
I don't want to answer.
Pick it up and hang up. That's what I do.
We busy. You call them back.
John says, hi guys, just took my 17 GT with all things VMP out, and Alex, your dyno tune is just freaking bulletproof after winter hibernation.
Nice.
The car is pulling strong.
Oh, cool. Very good.
So just a shout out there.
Race car.
Here you go.
I'm trying to look and see what I might have that's actually Coyote Swap or
Well, we can talk about
Slab Shack. Says
Slab Shack.
Slab Shack.
Slab Shack.
What's the biggest no-no or mistake people make on Fox body Coyote Swaps?
They put an LS in it. Oh, sorry.
Biggest mistake. There's a lot of small. It's hard to mess one up by not doing research on K-members and oil pan fitment. That's a big mistake. Make sure you know that the oil pan you have will work on the K-member you bought. If not, it's a pain in the ass because you're either going to have to stop what you're doing, you're already putting the motor in the car at this point, and now you have to take it all apart to mess with the oil pan. So do your research there. Fuel system, make sure, just do your research on all the angles as much as you can.
Hey, Chris, you mind putting the camera on this little part right here? I want Frank to talk about the little oil. Oh, let me go this way. Hey, there you go, Frank. Talk
Hey.
about that.
See?
Yep, there you go.
Like those here?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Like that there?
right there.
This is our 6R80 transmission cooler fittings. Now the 6R80 has a one of those hairs.
Yeah, I tried to tell you. They
The
get annoying
6R80
when you
has
see
a
them.
transmission cooler, but from the factory you really can't adapt them. They are hard lines and they're held in, and the hard line goes all the way from the transmission all the way to the factory cooler. So what we did after cutting and welding them for a couple of years and so forth, now we have our cooler fittings. Now what these will allow you to do is basically go into the stock transmission and give you a -8. What do you?
I was looking at your hands. They're awesome. Go ahead.
So they're going to allow you to take the factory cooler lines out and put these into the transmission case and give you a -8 AN fitting. Now what's nice about them is the hole's right here.
Frank has 4 hands.
What's unique about our fittings is that they're not going to lock you in to a certain angle or position. You can actually put these in the transmission case, and before you tighten down the hold down bracket, you can aim these any direction you want, and they will spin all the way around and not collide with each other unless they're trying to hit each other. But so you can clear stuff like your bell housing, floor pans. If you want to put the cooler in the back, you can aim them towards the rear.
So this won't work.
No.
No,
The
okay.
facing
Why-
them, it won't work like
I
that.
need an adapter fitting to go from here to here.
How do I couple these together?
So we, yeah.
If I don't want to run a trans cooler, why can't I just connect these
Yeah, you
so
can
I
tell
don't
my
have
hand
a
because
leak?
it's way darker than everyone else's.
It's the cooler bypass,
Oh, my
right?
God.
So yeah, that'll allow you to aim them any direction you want. Makes it a lot easier to install, and there's no restriction on flow. They are -8 because -8 mimics the diameter of the factory transmission cooler lines.
Very good.
Beautiful.
Very good.
Beautiful.
We made good use of that camera angle. Thank you, Chris.
Now you have to put them inside of a heart.
Yes.
Hey,
They are. They're kind of hard. Right?
Frank, the gentleman that was asking about the Alternator relocation kit, he was wondering how soon Power by the Hour might have them in stock.
They're in stock right now.
Bam.
They'll ship out today if you place
PBHperformance.com. Frank at PBHperformance.com.
100% fill rate.
Yeah, 561.
561-737-2331.
There you go. Call up Christian. He ain't working.
Yeah.
Look at the Joselito videos.
Joselito.
Ryan wants to know, can you get a 6R80 to shift as fast as the 10R80?
As fast? Yes.
Yep.
The shifting, not the actual amount of shifts.
It says the shifting.
Yeah, the shifting, yes.
Is there a big difference between the 10 hour radio? I haven't.
I think they see the car going
PCM.
bam, 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 meaning how
Yeah.
quick, and they think that's like a fast shift. The 6 already shifts each gear just as quick. It's just not that many of them.
And there's more RPM drops, so you don't hear it like you
Correct.
do in a 10R80. 10R80, it moves like 1,000 RPM, and they're like, "What?
Oh, mind blown!
Oh,
10 years,
It
dude.
didn't go down to 5,400."
Right?
James says he's doing a half-mile events this summer.
Right.
Emailed the tutor, and he said for safety reasons, he shouldn't use pump E85 because it's mixed with 56 octane and other distillates.
Okay.
He says that can pre-ignite under higher loads. Do you guys recommend mixing his own E85 from pump 9193 and E98, or doing VP's X85 or Ignite Red 114? He's on a 700 wheel TVS 1450.
Come on. You should be fine on pump 85, unless he really wants to get froggy.
In most cases, you should be fine on pump E85, but again, defer to your tuner. If your tuner doesn't want you to run
Right,
that,
there you go.
C85 or X85 should be fine. Just get with your tuner, let him know which fuel it is, and ask him if he wants to make any changes based on it.
Yeah, whoever's tuning you, ask him. No offense.
Yeah.
We haven't had issues. Lund Racing, Power by the Hour, never had an issue with pump 85.
Unless it's just bad 85. And
M2K20 says, what are your thoughts on adding 30% methanol to 93 octane for race fuel results?
Every question this guy has had
Is
has
methanol
been about
related?
methanol.
Could you get off of that meth? Like, just get off of meth, bro? Seriously, just get off of it. Man.
It sucks that
It's
you're
all
restricted by 93 octane, but in my experience and opinion, on a positive displacement supercharger with a low mounted intercooler, methanol does not make too terribly much of a difference in octane. It helps cool stuff when you're in long duration wide open throttle poles, but I have not seen a very high octane benefit to
You will
using
ask
that.
that same question next week differently.
Well, yeah, and so Rick came on and said to Alex, can someone make their own E85 racing fuel?
If you
Anyone can make your own E85
whatever you
racing
want,
fuel.
Free country.
Yeah, it's America. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought this was America.
Oh yeah.
Is this not America?
Ken says, what's the best way to increase 91 octane to 93?
You pump 93 in it.
That is the best way.
That's the best way.
But
The quickest way.
Torco or VP Octanium will help you bump it up a couple octane points
Right.
if you're in a pinch and you do not have access to 93.
Let's look here.
Yes.
Slab Shack, there's YOLO coming out
Slave.
earlier.
Eh,
Slab Shack.
he's overdue.
When doing a can swap, why would you only recommend to change the intake?
Oh,
Because it's the same. I'm
I
assuming.
had to.
I'm assuming you're talking about F150 because the exhaust cam is the same on F150 than it is on Mustang, but
True
the intake
story.
cam is different on 11 to 14 F150. So when you get an 11 to 14 F150 motor, change the intake cam to a Mustang style intake.
Mustang.
Um, Peyton
then
wants
you
to
need to
know,
bring
how
that
did
in.
Power by the Hour get into coyote swaps?
How did we get into it?
Was it when Jake saw how much power made and said, "What the hell"?
It was like, I think 2012 I started there, and shortly after that we had the dyno, and we started doing some tuning, and saw the potential of it. He had a 96 Cobra that was twin turbo 4.6, 4 valve, and
B-head.
just said, you know what, we need to.
Go ahead.
And saw the potential of it and decided to wedge it into his car. And he came up Orlando, bought a blown up Boss 302 motor, rebuilt it, put it in there, used a Ford Race control pack. He already had a 4R70W in it, and with a standalone controller, and we got it tuned, and it worked great, NA. And we decided to, at that time, figure out how to put all his accessories from his motor onto the Coyote motor. And when we saw that it was going to be a good idea, we decided to run with it, and that was really our first product that we've ever developed. It was spawned from that car in particular.
Beautiful.
Take it from there.
Klaus wants to know, does Power by the Hour have the Gen 1 control packs in stock?
For manual transmission, Ford Racing is still in back order. We do not have any in stock. We are working on, though, adapting our body harness to do the same thing the Ford Race control pack does, so you can buy it a la carte.
Alexander Woods wants to know, what all is involved in swapping a 6R80 into my 13 GT?
Did
Take a
you?
manual to automatic swap. You basically got to go through the parts list of everything a manual has and an automatic has, whatever is different, buy it and put it on your car. And then tuning, you're going to need an automatic computer, Need to be able to reprogram the ABS so you don't have an ABS light on. Reprogram the instrument cluster so everything communicates properly. Wiring wise, engine and body harness stay the same. You need a transmission harness, and then you need all your hard parts same as the GT500. Transmission, torque converter, flex plates, separator plates, hardware, drive shaft will be the same.
Right.
Transmission cooler.
Transmission cooler, master cylinder reservoir,
This-
and automatic brake pedals. If you don't want to use the factory,
I knocked it down again. I suck at this.
you know, I got to sell these tonight. If you don't want to use a factory transmission cooler because they're a little hard to install, since it is so big, then you can use our fittings and do an aftermarket cooler. It's a little bit easier to put in sometimes.
Poor boy wants to know, Frank, have you done Coyote swaps from the parts farm where they have the turnkey pallet packages?
We've had some folks bring us parts to do swaps with them, and generally everything works good as advertised. Every once in a while you get a part on the pallet that's just broken or not working and you got to replace it. It's used equipment, so that can happen. Connectors can be cracked, that kind of stuff. But generally we have a lot of customers that are using Parts Farm as a supplier for their parts, and then they mix in our products to make it a little bit easier to get it transferred over.
Bit Papa wants to know why no 10R80 and a 15 to 17. What's the malfunction?
Computer.
A computer?
Vagina junction, what's your function?
What's the big malfunction? The computer.
Yeah.
So,
Communication.
just put a Bosch computer in a thing. You know, cue the SpongeBob meme.
The SpongeBob
meme? Yeah.
Kyle says Coyote Swap NA intake that clears a stock hood new edge and can rev to 8K? Question mark.
GT350.
GT350, 18 GT, others?
Yes, yes, and yes. Not
And
Cobra
yes.
Jet. Just GT350 and the 18. Joey
Oh.
Basil's car had a GT350
GT350. Yeah.
intake manifold.
What about the Holly Sniper?
What we recommend is the GT350 and the 18 manifold.
The Holly Sniper, aka the Holly Leaker.
The Holly leaker. The Holly smoke test failure.
Them welds though.
James says, what tune should I get from my 95 Coyote Swap?
What tune?
Yeah.
We use, you can use us. You can use Power by the Hour, Who Vendors, Lund Racing. Sean at AED, I'm sure, can do a great job.
Yeah.
Troy says, what has more NA horsepower potential, a Coyote or LS3? Thinking about swapping into my 67 Fastback.
Probably an LS3. Potential.
Naturally aspirated potential.
I just think you got to put a Ford in a Ford.
If you're gonna potential, just because of displacement, I'm going by.
Yeah, I think just from a pure displacement figure, the LS3 has a potential to make more horsepower.
Right. Where we
But
call
a built 5-liter can make a lot of
Yeah,
power.
I just, I'm not a hater. I understand, if a 6.2 or 3 liter something can, has more potential to make more naturally aspirated horsepower than a 5 liter overhead cam.
It's probably going to depend on what he's going to plan on doing with it as well. If you're going to go road racing, I kind of really like to have that higher revving Coyote motor in there than an LS.
But if you want to be a
No, I want that low-end torque
want
to
that
carry me
low
out of the
and
corner
then
so I can leave the
BTR.
corner at 1,500 RPM and floor it.
Just smoke the tire. There's merit to both of them, I would say, but it kind of what's missing from that question is what you're planning on doing with the car specifically.
Ice cream.
If there's a specific
cars
need
and coffee
for
and
it.
ice cream.
Oh,
Ice
well,
cream?
sounds pretty
Ice
good.
cream.
Christopher says, we kind of touched on this earlier, so you may or may not want to answer it.
Okay.
What's the cost of an auto swap into a 13 GT if you don't have a trans and want the 4R200, a 6R80 swap?
He wants you to quote right
$1 billion.
$1 billion.
What I can tell you is typically, since we do everything with brand new parts, we don't offer anything used. I can tell you, our transmission with a 4R200, you're going to spend probably right around like $5,000 for the complete transmission with core charge. There's a $1,500 core charge in there. Usually all the parts you need, PCM, wiring, hard parts, you're going to have probably about $3,000 to $4,000 in there, depending on trans cooler and so forth. And need a torque converter, Circle D, $1,200. Drive shaft, if you don't already have one, that's $800. So it adds up. I'd say you can probably get one done, parts wise, $8,000 to $9,000. Probably get you covered to buy everything and then put it in the vehicle.
We have about 3 minutes. I'm going to hit some of these other questions that are out there.
Hit 'em up.
Hallen says, Hallen S550, not a swap question, but a 16 GT Performance pack with C&L intake, Cook's catless long tubes, RTR exhaust, currently tuned at 420 rear wheel. What would be needed to switch to E85, and what gains could I expect?
A tune, about 10 horsepower.
Alan says, what kind of AIT2 differences are you seeing between the Gen 2 and Gen 3?
0.
Right.
Poor Boy says, Alex, how's the Fairmont coming along?
It's actually going to make its way down south today. Mr. Perdomo was nice enough to bring a trailer up from West Palm Beach, and he's going to bring it down to Power by the Hour. We're going to start playing around with it and see what the deal is.
They're extremely sensitive.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, they are.
Nick says, will your fuel pump voltage booster need a tune modifications on a new Edge Mustang before going in for the full dyno tune?
No. That is an open loop feed forward system or a closed loop feed forward system. So it will,
Does that have a fuel pump voltage table?
yeah.
Like a GT500?
Yeah, new Edges have a returnless fuel system that's pulse width modulated and whatnot, but it will learn the amount of necessary fuel pump voltage to maintain a set pressure at a set fuel flow. So yeah, it'll learn it. It's better to have the tune updated, but that's something that they can handle on the dyno. The car will run and drive beforehand. I like it.
Joey says 2018 intake manifold versus GT350 intake manifold on a 15 to 17 GT.
In my experience, the GT350 manifold makes a tiny bit more power than the 18 manifold, but the 18 manifold is significantly cheaper. So dollar per horsepower, the 18 manifold's probably a better buy, but if your goal is the most possible horsepower, 18 manifold or the GT350 manifold is a better buy.
Right.
Jeremy says, what are the hours charged for swapping in a built short block 14 Coyote? Besides L&M, do you recommend any other places to look for short blocks?
Livernois, L&M.
Isn't there a shop out of Louisiana that does a lot of the Ford Racing
NPR.
Illuminator builds? No, they're like out of Louisiana or Alabama. It's like ACA or something.
No.
They built the Terminator Reman engines, and they built I think they did the first couple Illuminators.
They want to labor to put it in? Is that what they said? Yeah.
We only do complete engine R&R, so I don't know.
Yeah, I know that we're doing one in the shop right now, so you could probably get a quote from us on
Once we're done.
doing a short block install, but we prefer doing long blocks because
We like it long.
it's just a lot nicer, the long beach.
It's just.
You put cam covers on it, you put an oil pan on it, and you throw it in.
He has cam covers. He has custom cam covers on the Power by the Hour. You can make him say whatever you want.
We only do complete motors. If you're going to pay somebody to build you a motor, have them assemble it. Have them be responsible for everything from the valve cover to the oil pan. They're getting paid good money. They're experts in it. That way there's no gray area between you and the engine builder, so he can't blame you for timing or the tech that touched it last. Did you put the right oil in it?
Yeah.
Put it in.
Ready to put it in the car. I would look into that.
A crate engine.
Brr.
I got a crate 350. Heartthrob.
The heart throb.
Painted Chevrolet orange.
It's 3 o'clock,
I
so
We
if
got
we
2
want to
more
go
hours.
ahead and
Okay.
Three,
so,
actually.
wrap things up.
We're going to wrap it up. Real quick, I want to thank Frank for coming up from West
for having
Palm.
me.
And, he did us a huge favor by not only being our guest, but showcasing some of the parts he's got. He's been real good to work with. We vendor his parts. We love Power by the Hour. We have a good partnership with them. And real quick, I want to announce that today will be my last episode here at Tuning Tuesday. Episode 20 will be my last one because I will be leaving at the end of the week to pursue other ventures. I wanted to thank Justin Starkey, Rebecca, Joe, Carrie, Brian, Chris, Amy, Frank, and all the other sales staff for being cool people, good people, good to work with. But I'll let you guys know next week where I'll be heading. But for now, this will be my last show here.
Yeah.
So
Sad.
it's okay. Justin will take over. He'll actually give you right tuning questions and not talk too much shit. I just talk shit.
Oh, it's gonna be
Leave it
sad.
on a high point.
On a high
I would
point,
say.
Yeah.
exactly. But thank you guys for watching. Joe, nice working with you. Frank, I'll see you later.
Yeah.
We'll touch tips.
And I
later,
guess that'll
so.
do it. We'll touch tips and moon landing.
No docking.
Yeah.
No docking.
Yeah.
No
All
docking.
right.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Jeremy just came on. He's like, no.
it's
There'll be a lot of that.
Hello,
Don't worry about
darkness,
it.
my old friend.
I'll come back.
Yeah, exactly.
Robert's like, what?
Yeah, sorry.
Lou's like, no. Steve's like, what? Wait. Brandon's like, wait, what?
Yeah, you heard right. Trust me,
Cliffhanger.
I'll announce it. Just if you follow my stuff.
Valentine's like, no.
Yeah, it's happening. Just follow my stuff on social media, and I'll let you guys know where I'm going once it's appropriate.
All day.
But are we gonna sign off, or are you just gonna react to my like?
We're done. Let's go ahead. Time to sign off.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye,
guys.
everybody.
Thank you for all the
Thanks.
questions.